Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm excited to share with you a first look at the 20th Tank Division, a new Polish division available in the NORTHAG expansion. Let's jump on in. Just to note, what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change. Let's go through all of the units and we'll put together a quick deck. So starting here with the Gaz 66, 600 supply, 90 km/h speed, 25 points, 10 on a card. Then we have the Star 266, which is a 1000 supply truck with 90 km/h speed, 40 points, 6 on a card. Then we have the Mi-8T, which is 1500 supply, pretty standard stuff, 55 points, 4 on a card. Then we have the BMP-1K3, 70 points. Best thing about this card is just the good availability and the fact that it can defend itself well. And then you have access to the BRDM-2 leader as well, which is nice because of its 100 km/h speed, but you do get less of them and they are more expensive. Then there's the option of the FOB. So logistics tab, pretty normal in terms of prices across the board and availability of units. Moving on to the infantry tab, we have ourselves a PKM squad. Then moving on, we have ourselves the mechanized infantry leader. So 7 AKs, the Komar and the smoke grenade is actually quite nice because it's like a 7 strength squad. They can be brought in with the BMP-1 or the BMP-2, which has the 30mm autocannon and the Konkers, or just the standard truck, of course. Then we have the Piotr Mech, which is your standard mechanized infantry with the BMP. They can't bring in the BMP-2, unfortunately, because the availability on these would be really nice, because you could have 2 vet BMP-2s at 5 on a card. That would be really nice. But instead, you can only bring them in with the Behaltersmech that have the SVD. So 4 AKs, 2 PKMs, SVD, and the RPG-7VM, which is, you know, a nice loadout for engaging enemy infantry at range. And you can bring in the BMP-2 with them. Then we have the Sapagé. These guys are your classic engineers, so this is your engineer leader. Unfortunately, no smoke grenade, makes this a little lackluster. But you do get shot trait, I suppose. UAZ, Scott 2 with the Dushka, and then the Scott 2A, which comes with the KPVT and PKT. And then the standard Sapagé squads, these are the ones with your satchel charge. But the nice thing about the Polish engineers is they do come with the satchel and the Komar. And the Komar, like being able to take out enemy vehicles like the Scott, would be really nice to have, because quite often they can get caught out on their own and the satchel won't be able to like engage a vehicle very well. So having the RPG-76 as a kind of backup is nice. But again, yeah, Scott 2, Scott 2A are their options. And then we have the Sapagé Szturmowe, which come with the RPO Rice, which is a napalm launcher, basically. Scott 2, Scott 2A, you get 2 cards of these. Very nice. And then we have the SBG-9, which can be brought in with the UAZ or the BMP-1. There's the military police, which have the security trait as well. Nice thick military police squad. And then we have the Fargo, which comes with the UAZ or the BMP-1. This A to gem might be something you take just to kind of have dotted around, but otherwise not really anywhere near the best A to gems you can get. And moving on to the artillery tab, we start with the 120mm mortars. That's standard 5,625 meter range with a 1.34 HE. Trouble with those 120mm mortars is the sort of spread of them is too great, and they take quite a lot of time to land on target. There is 3 cards of Gwozdykas, but that's interesting. You can have 9 of these, but better than that, you can have the Dana, which has finally joined us in WARNO. Very cool indeed. 17 km/h range with a 3.34 HE gun. Very nice indeed. Very easy to move around as well. You know, it's like a wheeled artillery unit, can just move quite quickly out of the position it just fired. So yeah, cool addition to the game. And then we have 2 cards of grads available as well. So, yeah. Pretty nice artillery tab. Then we have the tank tab, which starts with the BRDM Malyutka P. Big fan of these just due to the stealth. I think they can get a lot of value for 55 points. Then we have the T55 line, so the T55AD, which comes with a 1925mm gun with 16 penetration, 11 front armor. For a leader tank, this is probably a good option because it's cheap, but still like is a tank. Then we have like the standard T55, which is 80 points. It's basically same stats, the only difference there being that the leader gets 1 vet. And then we have the T55AS, which is a nice option to accompany your other tanks that you're going to have in this division, because it does get the mine clearers, which allow you to basically take out individual infantry units that might be stopping you from moving up at close range, which you're going to be doing since you have a lot of T72s in your division, starting with the T72MD, which comes with 2,100 meter range and 19 penetration, 15 front armor. So the nice thing about the T72 is it's really good at close range, but it will lack at longer ranges. And then we have like the T72M, which is the same as the MD, just like the non-leader variant. So 19 penetration, 2,100 meter range, very nice. And then we have the M1D, which still has the 2,100 meter range, but does get 2 front armor and smoke. It's actually kind of worth pointing out that these cheaper T72s don't actually have smoke launchers, which is pretty rough. So the T72M1s are certainly going to be much easier to use because you have that smoke to fall back on. So for 160 points, probably worth the upgrade from the standard T72M. And then we have the T72M2 Wilk, which comes with a 2,275 meter range gun with slightly less penetration but more accuracy. And also we get explosive reactive armor. So we get an extra health here. So this is actually a pretty nice tank for 220 points. Penetration may be lacking for engaging other heavy tanks, but it's going to basically punch down really, really well. Moving on to the recon tab, we have ourselves the DYWIZJA. These guys are a classic 4-man recon squad with the RPG-7VM. Can be brought in with the UAZ, the OT-65, and then the MI2. And then we have the Sabotage variant, which is an 8-man squad with satchel charges and shock trait. Can be brought in with the BAW-485 or the Tri-Hwers. This thing is an NSVT with 2 front armor. Not too bad. And then we have the mechanized variant, which comes with the Star Truck or the BMP. And this BMP does have optics increased, so that's kind of nice. Interesting options. Moving on though, we have the BRDM. Pretty reliable armored recon. And then we have the MI2 US, which comes with the 4 PKTs, so it can sort of kill infantry behind the lines. Behind your lines, that is. And then we have the Battlegroup. These guys have GSR trait, which is nice. 3-man squad. Going to be your exceptional optics on the front line. Can be brought in with the Honker, with or without the Dushka, or also the BRDM-1, which is a decent amphibious unit with the PKT on it. That's a shame that it's not a Dushka. That'd be much better. Then we have the standard Rzop Specjalny. Sorry if I'm butchering the Polish names again today. Honka and Honka Rice are available for those. Honestly, not the most fantastic squad. Like, if they had GSR as well, they'd probably be useful, but I think without it, it's kind of limited how useful they are. Like, RPG-7VL is just, like, not the best launcher. I guess it's pretty cheap, considering they are special forces. And then we have the BRM one, so in this case the BWR-1D, which is exceptional optics, so definitely generally worth having, especially if accompanying your T-72s. Moving into the AA tab, we've got the classic Strela 2M, which is absolutely hot garbage with 35% accuracy, 2,475 meter range. I mean, they are super cheap, so you can like spam them. So that's kind of the only way you really get around that, like the poor statistics. And we have the ZU-23-2, which is a twin 23mm. You can get the twin 23mm with the Strela 2M on it. Then there's the Shilka available. Now this does have that old radar dish on it, so it is vulnerable to seed, so do bear that in mind. Otherwise, 2,650 meter range versus aircraft, 2,475 meter range versus helicopters. Haven't had much luck with these against actual aircraft, and I've had more luck with these against infantry. Then we have the Strela 10M. I do like the Strela 10M, pretty reliable AA platform with the classic on the move accuracy being the same as the stationary, really handy. And then there's the Cub available as well for your long range anti-air needs. Alright, moving on to the helicopters, we have first of all the Salamandra, which is the 23mm equipped Mi-2 with Malyutkas. Then there's the Mi-24D, which has the Falanga and the 57mm. Unfortunately, the Falanga super slow ATGM. I mean, so is the Malyutka, to be honest. And yeah, it's going to make it difficult for this to get good value. Same out of this one, as it still relies on the Falanga, but has 80mm rockets. So it's going to be useful for killing enemy infantry, but taking on enemy armor, these ATGMs are going to struggle to get on target before the thing you're firing at moves out the way. Alright, moving on to Air Tab. It's the MiG-21 show. We have first of all MiG-21s equipped with 240mm rockets. Generally these things are quite unreliable, unfortunately. But we do have a card of MiG-21s with HE bombs. I do quite like these. They're really good for picking off enemy infantry squads and sort of light to medium armor on their own. And you can obviously bring like more than one in order to try and like do some decent damage to a tank. With their like 1,125 km/h speed, they're pretty good sort of hit and run bombers. Then we have the MiG-21 AA. This is interesting because it has 4 infrared R60s, which are actually decent with 55% accuracy. But then we have the R3R, which can only target aircraft, 4,275 meter range, 45% accuracy. So you're giving yourself a bit more of a chance to take on enemy aircraft with this thing, but for 145 points, you can see that it's not going to be doing that great. And then there's the AA2 variant, which gets extra infrared missiles. In this case, the R13M only has that 45% accuracy again, but does get more HE than the standard R60 does. So up close, these could trade pretty well into enemy aircraft, but you got to get there. Then we have the Su-22. This is the 240mm rocket variant. 155 points. This is probably your better bet for shooting down helicopters than even the MiG-21s. Actually, I guess this MiG-21 is actually pretty good for shooting down helicopters because it can fire both of its infrared at the same time. But the Su-22 has always been decent because of its 30% ECM, which you need when you're going to dive into a helicopter. And then we have the Su-22 with the AT missiles, the KH-29T. These AT missiles are always very nice to have because they are fire and forget. So you can just have this kind of swing around at max range and then let go of the missile and then just like pull away immediately. So it's kind of nice. Alrighty, well, let's move back to the statistics tab and we'll throw together a quick deck. Like overall, it's looking a little bit lackluster in terms of like overall strength, but we'll see how it comes out. So for this division, you definitely need a fob. Like the artillery is super good. So we'll probably just go with like 2 cards of these trucks rather than the GAZ-66 because the GAZ-66 only has like 600 supply on them. And then probably just some BMPs. Then for the infantry tab's kind of going to be a difficult one because the activation points are quite high. So you kind of have to be cautious how you spend it. We definitely bring in the BMP2s. And whether I upbet these or not, I'm not sure. And I'm not sure we bring in a leader in this tab because we can't really afford the activation points. So we'll probably go for these engineers. I'm thinking with a standard Scott 2 is fine. Like the Dushka's a good machine gun. So yeah, that's fine. We probably want at least one card of these. And then maybe some BMP 1s. We'll do some BMP 1s. I'll upvet those. Alright, so as it looks, is that going to be enough? Maybe I can upvet one of these cards. Yeah, that'll do. Alright, artillery tab. That's it. She can get 3 cards of these Danners. Do I want to do that over grads? I'm not sure I do. Alright, tank tab. Definitely bringing in the Wilks, right? And then we're definitely bringing in the T-55s. Really good, cheap option for a leader. And then I guess we'll probably do T-72 leader as well. And we're definitely bringing in 2 cards of the T-72 M1s. We'll bring in the T-55 AS. We'll bring in some Malyotkas. And I think that is fine. I'm not too much of a fan of relying on these T-72s which don't have smoke. I feel like I always get them killed by accident because I always expect to have smoke. I think that'll do. That's a lot of Malyotkas. Alright, recon tab. Definitely bringing in the BRMs. We'll get recon helicopter. I really don't like not having a recon helicopter. And then we'll have a couple. Let's do like a BRDM. Because this you can kind of use more at the start of the game. I think recon wise, it would be wise kind of double up on the recon vehicles. So I'm going to bring in the OT-65 with the standard unit. Then I don't have to double up on that. Especially for 3 activation points. I will definitely do Kub and Strelaton M. We'll upvet these. And then I might bring in some of these as well. Or maybe just a card of man pads. Don't know if that's worth 3 points, to be honest, though. In the helicopter tab, we'll probably just do the Salamandra. Just handy for cleaning things up on the back lines, like on your back lines. Like whenever something like breaks through, basically, helicopters are really good for just kind of shutting that down. Definitely bringing in the ATA planes. I kind of want to bring in the bombers, and which AA do I want? AA2 or AA1? Having the double infrared, I think, is more useful overall. Because I'm probably not going to be using these for engaging enemy aircraft. We're most likely going to be using them to engage enemy helicopters. Like enemy aircraft, we can take down with the Kub, no problem. Okay, so that leaves us with 4 activation points. We could bring in some more tanks. And maybe another helicopter. I think I might bring in this helicopter. And we'll bring in some more tanks. Maybe just some like up-vetted T-72s at the start. We can use. And maybe even up-vetted T-55s. These are just sort of units that I would use at the very beginning of the game. Try and get good value out of them in those sort of closer range engagements. I think the T-72 is better for that because of the 19 penetration. Cool. Yeah, so that's what we'll do. I'll just pop them all the way on the left so that I remember to bring them in first. That is the 20th Polish Tank Division. Cool. Let's have a look at it overall and we'll see how it came out. So, like generally speaking, it's going to be good at taking on enemy tanks because you do have 2,275 in range with the Wilks, and then if you kind of run out of Wilks or you just need something that can punch up a bit more against M1A, 1HAs, for example, then you do have this Area 30s at your disposal. Yeah, air is covered fine. It's kind of scary not to have man-pads, but the Strela 10M is a really solid air-to-air, well, anti-air platform. Your artillery is great. Your infantry is kind of lacking. Overall, I feel like this division can do a decent amount of damage. It's going to kind of play a lot like the 7th Panzer Division, where you have to build up a number of T-72s. You hit the enemy hard with enemy artillery, or with your artillery, sorry, and then you kind of follow up from that. Anything that's heavy that's left, you hit with the airstrikes, and then you're good to go. Yeah, it's going to be very dependent on that build-up with the artillery. You just got to kind of play it safe in the early game and then just kind of push through in the mid to late game. Yeah, it should be fun. Looking forward to trying it out for sure. Because it's one of those divisions I look at and I'm like, I wonder how this will actually play. Especially when you have like a decent amount of close range infantry. Interesting. Well, let me know what you think of the 20th Polish Tank Division. That's going to be all from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.